Sylvie, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well. It's great. Sylvie is now in Busan when the international negotiation on the plastic convention is ongoing. So we have this benefit that you are 8 hours in front of us. So it's mean like you talked from the future. So maybe you will have more insights from what will happen next. So, Sylvie, can you share your screen and your presentation with us? Because I know that you prepare something for us. And tell us a little bit about your views, how those very dynamic changes in Europe, mostly in Europe, influence the future changes.
The one thing I can tell you already from Busan is it's tough, but it's progressing, but it's really tough. And the industry does want an ambitious plastics treaty that effectively tackles plastic pollution and boosts circular economy. That's our position. But let's talk competitiveness with you today. So before telling you where we are and where we think where we are going, I just want to come back to what happened in the last year. So I'll start with a few data on the economics. So Europe is the second largest chemicals producer in the world, roughly similar to the US. Obviously far behind China. And over the years, as you can see here, so you see China has grown considerably, while the relative market share of the EU has more than halved in the last 20 years, 30 years. You could argue that, of course, the growth is in Asia, so it's a normal picture. However, we are also losing ground on our own market in the EU domestic market, where we see more and more of the demand being filled with imports primarily from China, but also other places. So it is a difficult situation. I think this slide is a bit busy, but basically it's showing how the different regions are managing the recovery. At the bottom left, you see the global demand evolution. So of course, in 2021, we were recovering from COVID, but you see 2022, 2023, there was relatively slow, but there is some growth globally, around 3%. And 2024 should be around the same numbers. And then on the above, on the map, you see, in comparison to this global growth, how the different regions are managing, who is winning, basically. And what you can see is pretty clear in Europe. We've been losing ground in 2022, and particularly in 2023 was not a good year. So you see that it went down of 8%, while at the same time in China, it went up by almost 10%. It's slowing down in China right now, so it's not double digit anymore, and the housing market is very tough. But we're not really taking our share of the global growth. This is another way to show you what we call now a crisis. So you see the 2008 financial crisis. Then we recovered. It was stable within the normal noise. What this graph on the left shows is the capacity utilization. It's when you run. I mean, those of you who run plants or units will obviously know what it is. But basically, it's a measure of your profitability, of how much you fill your production units. An average number for the industry is 82%. A really good number is 85%. So we had obviously a drop in 2008, and then we had the COVID drop, but we also came back very quickly in 2001. The problem we see now is that we're not coming back. We are in the range of 72% capacity utilization, and we don't quite see a great improvement. So there's no V shape anymore. It could be structural, we don't know yet, but it is really of concern because it means that the units in Europe are not very profitable. So before we even talk about investing into greener technologies, the question is, can we even stay in Europe? So it's pretty unprecedented, and I'm sure if you read the news and in your own plants and sites, you may also feel the pain. At least a number of companies are definitely feeling the pain, and in Germany in particular, it's a pretty doom situation. I put this slide only for you in Poland because the average, the evolution in average EU 27 for the chemicals production. So it's the blue line on the left. So you see it has gone down, as I was explaining, since the end of 2022 on average. But actually you see Poland and Greece are doing pretty well. So it's not all the countries are facing the same situation right now in Europe, but the average is not good. So what does it tell us? That this tells us that the demand is not great. It's been going down. We've had inflation. The costs in the EU have very much increased as a result of the war in Ukraine. So we have our energy costs have incredibly increased, and we are 2 to 4 times more expensive in energy compared, for example, to the US. We also have more regulation with all the legislation that was that came with the Green Deal, and labor costs are higher, but it's historically they have already been higher. So it's really more on the cost side. It's really energy cost and the cost and complexity of regulation, and the slowness of the administration as well. So we have a problem on the cost side. We don't have so much demand. And at the same time, it's now that we need to innovate and invest into the transition towards carbon neutrality and circular economy and safe and sustainable chemicals. So this is huge because we don't have the cash space to really invest at the scale that would be needed, and we're talking billions and billions here. So we have this sort of perfect storm. Everything's coming together, but at the same time, I think what unites us as industry, chemical industry in Europe, is that we want both sustainable products and sustainable production in Europe. That's what we want. And that's exactly why in February 2024, we came up with this famous Antwerp Declaration for your European Industrial Deal. And I was happy to hear earlier, I partly heard Otto, I was happy that he mentioned it. So it's good the Antwerp Declaration is known. CIFIC has been leading and coordinating this exercise. So what is it? It's a call for action, a call for policy action from European regulators for the businesses to create the business case to invest in Europe. It's not instead of the Green Deal. It's to complement, to enable the Green Deal. So the ability to invest in Europe, invest in the transformation, go to low carbon technologies, recycling, etc., and also safeguard good quality jobs in Europe. So there are 10 points in the definition that address the way the European Commission operates. It addresses boost demand for low carbon and circular products. It's about the single market. It's about making the innovation framework smarter. It's, of course, about the cost of energy and the infrastructure that Europe needs, raw material security, because we do have a lot of dependencies, which is an issue in the current geopolitical world, and also a new spirit of lawmaking and skills. And this declaration was handed over to President von der Leyen. So this is an event that was run on the 20th of February with 73 CEOs from different industry sectors. So specific, the chemical industry coordinated, but the declaration is shared across the industry sectors. It has been signed by almost 1,300 organizations, companies and associations, but also the trade union. So that's very important. The trade unions support this call for an industrial policy because, like us, they want to keep the industry and the jobs in Europe. So you may recognize the Prime Minister of Belgium, who was holding the presidency at that time, the former CEO of BASF, Martin Brudermüller, who was the president of CEFIC at that time, some ministers, Enrico Letta, who wrote a report, he's also in the picture. As you can imagine, very importantly, Mrs. von der Leyen in the middle. So that was a huge success. It was not a one-off. Since then, a lot has happened. A lot of events. So we are running Antwerp dialogues, we call them. These are groups of stakeholders discussing concretely how to implement the Antwerp Declaration. We were heard by the Commission. So let me now tell you what happened between February and where we are now. I think Otto referred to the Draghi report. We actually had two reports. The Letta report for the European Council promoting the single market. So Enrico Letta was very clear. We need much more single market because it's our key added value as a European Union. And then came, during the summer in September, came the Draghi report on the future of European competitiveness. And that's exactly what we wanted to hear. And Draghi completely supports, and he went even further in saying, we have a problem. He's talking in very strong words. He's been talking about avoiding a slow agony. He said, for the first time in the Cold War, we must fear for our self-preservation. So very, very, very strong. It made noise. Everyone, every institution in Brussels has been discussing it. So Council supports it. The European Parliament, the new European Parliament is very much behind on competitiveness. And of course, the Commission is behind as well. So Draghi was a really big wake-up call for everyone. It has resonated in the press. And what is really good about this report is that he also looks sector by sector and he makes policy proposals. And he has a chapter on energy-intensive industries, including the chemical industry. And there he clearly explains that the chemical industry is the industry of industries. So supply all the sectors with chemicals, with materials, with solutions. And without a thriving chemical industry, a lot of downstream sectors will be in trouble. So that's clear in the Draghi report. After the Draghi report, after all these discussions came, the political guidelines of the European Commission. So it has, the political guidelines is the, if you want, the declaration of general politics. At least that's the way sometimes we call it for our prime ministers. It's the plan of a new leader for what von der Leyen's case is going to do in the next 5 years. She wants in particular, and I'm going to focus on this one today, a new plan for Europe's sustainable prosperity and competitiveness. Also worth looking at is a global Europe, so the place of Europe in the world. Why? Because if Mr. Trump comes with tariffs in January, then we'll have to think how we react, because we're truly a global player. We have a lot of trade flows with all the regions, which is great when the times are good, which can be vulnerabilities when things go more shaky. But let's look at pillar 1, which is competitiveness. Under this chapter, there is the Clean Industrial Deal. There's also making business easier, but I want to talk a little bit about the Clean Industrial Deal, which is the point 2. As Otto said, it's expected to be released in the first 100 days. The other thing that matters a lot to us, and I insist because it's really the Commission can very quickly help the industry, is reduce the administrative burden and simplify legislation. We need the signals. Then there's also financing and circular economy. So what is expected to be in the Clean Industrial Deal? You heard it already from Otto, and here you see the main chapters, as far as we know, because it's still under preparation. But we had a chance to discuss it a bit with the European Commission. So there are a number of tools to monitor competitiveness, a new competition policy, a competitiveness coordination tool, which is meant to coordinate with the member states. Very important, very, very important, a pillar called affordable energy and raw materials. This is about the cost of energy. It's also about infrastructure. It's the energy package, the 2030 targets, but also the long-term contracts, the PPAs, the alternative fuels, etc., CCS, CCU, you name it. So a long list of measures that we expect to be announced there. There's the fair transition. I skip this for now. There is a simplify legislation and the process here. The processes. So here it's permitting. It's what is called the sandboxes, so making it easier for the new innovative technologies to avoid the burden of the regulation. It's the chemicals industry package, you heard it, the Industrial Decarbonization Accelerator Act, which for now is a big question mark. It's expected to be the continuation of the Net Zero Industry Act. And I may be talking Brussels jargon for you here, but we can come back later. Financing the transition, and what for CEFIC is now increasingly important is creating the demand for products made in Europe, in particular for more sustainable products, because it has a cost to manufacture greener, cleaner products. We have to invest. And today, there's no return on investment for better products, in the sense that the market, the customers, the consumers are not willing to pay the green premium. And that weakens our business case to invest, because we need to put the money, but we don't know if we're going to be able to recover the money that we'll put in making better products. So we are now looking at how, which type of mechanisms could incentivize EU-made products. And it's not only incentivizing green products, but ideally to incentivize green products, at least to some extent, made on this continent. So the Commission will revise public procurement rules to make sure that sustainability is considered when buying goods under public procurement. But there will be also other measures, and as CEFIC, we're thinking also about taxes for, lower taxes for green products. We are thinking about EPRs. We are thinking about some new mechanisms in the supply chain. And this is work in progress, so I can't, we don't have all the answers yet at this stage. This is just a snapshot of the new commission. As you know, the new commission was agreed yesterday, which leaves me with one final slide. What happens now? This is all good, lots of announcements. We succeeded. Competitiveness is very high on the agenda, but the industry is still bleeding. And right now, it's even worsening. We're even struggling to stay in Europe. So what we miss at this point in time is really the sense of urgency. There is a big gap between the opportunity of having, competitiveness high on the agenda, but many of the measures that will be announced in the Clean Industrial Deal, because it will be a communication, it will not be legislative text, it will be an announcement of upcoming text. This will take time. Building the infrastructure for green electricity, changing the electricity markets, all that will take time. So the problem is that we have an urgent need for a very bold action by the Commission. So that's where we are. We also have to see, we have a very scattered political landscape in the European Parliament, but clearly most of the countries in Europe are going towards the more conservative side. The party called EPP has the majority. Well, it doesn't have an absolute majority. It's the biggest party in the European Parliament. So they will be the kingmaker in the sense that for any agreement, they will need to, for any majority to emerge on any new proposal, they will need to do with the EP. And this is the party of Tusk. So there's a clear link with Poland, and we definitely look forward to the upcoming Polish presidency to keep competitiveness very high on the agenda and move things forward with the support of the European Parliament, of the Commission, and of the Council. So Poland hopefully will be part of the history, making history for changing the situation for the chemical industry. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Sylvie, for this highlighting. In fact, we are taking this responsibility of having the presidency in the very specific moment in the history when the call for urgent action is really heard, and it's good that we see this wind of change in Europe. However, as you already described, the needs and the risk are very high. So thank you very much, and also thank you in between that you mentioned the issue with the US, and that it might add additional problem to our basket of problems with this potential tariffs, which might be imposed also on Europe, especially for China, but also for Europe. So thank you very much, Sylvie, for your input, and all the success in the negotiation, and send my regards to all the friends in Busan. Thank you. Bye.
I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.